is the Diary of a Lady Band Director podcast, brought to you by the Passion Is Network.
Hello. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Well, at least I can. I said we.
I can hear you. Oh, okay. Uh-oh. Computer did something weird. Don't do that. Not today, devil. Ha. Well, we got more guests. Oh, no. What happened to Cybil? I think we lost Cybil. All right. Hopefully she'll be back on, or she'll send a message. I need to. Wait a minute. Did she just come back? All right. Anyway. Hello. We are back. We were on a little hiatus. Summertime. It's almost over, or over for some of us music educators. I'll talk about how I feel about that. Well, if you can't tell, I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about it at all. But got to introduce somebody new to the panel. And so, just in case you don't know, or this is your first time tuning in to Diary of a Lady Band Director, we are the only all-woman podcast on the air that talks about everything band, music education, and all from the viewpoint of women. As usual, we love sharing the stage with our dedicated viewers to gain more insight and encourage dialogue throughout, even if we don't agree. And we don't always agree, y'all. So if you want to share your insight, mic up using the link that will be pinned to the comment section. And today, added to the panel, we have Jennifer Gray. All right. You're on Showtime at the Apollo. You got to kind of say hello to the people and unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Y'all hear me? Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Tyson Gray. I'm the band director at William Comer Middle School in Pascagoula, Mississippi. It's on the coast, like by Biloxi, like an hour from New Orleans, right by Mobile. You got to say areas around it because you don't know what Pascagoula is. Either way, I'm a graduate of Florida A&M University, where I received my bachelor's, and I got my master's from Boston University, and my education specialist degree from Piedmont University in music education as well. So that is pretty much me.
So Pascagoula
organizations. I'm in SAI.
I'm sorry.
All that good stuff. Hey y'all.
I was about to say Pascagoula. I've seen it on a sign, so that's how you say it, Pascagoula.
Pascagoula. Everybody always passes by it on the way to New Orleans.
Okay. Yeah. I've seen it before, but I couldn't begin to tell you how to pronounce it. So, okay. I learned something new today.
So let me tell you how I'm a corny joke. It's about to be a dad joke. So people pass you to go to Pascagoula. I know. Lame.
If you pass by Pascagoula, okay, you have to stop. Make sure you hit me up, y'all. We'll go do lunch or something.
I don't know why I didn't know you were in Mississippi. I don't know where I thought you were, but if you had asked me, I would have no idea that you were in Mississippi. You are in Mississippi.
Yeah, I'm back home. I'm actually teaching at my middle school. So I'm in my same district that I spent all my years. It's pretty cool.
Shout out to going back home. I went back home to my home district too. Much love the Baltimore City schools, but yeah, it wasn't even a district. It was really my principal. But we'll do a show on admin another day. Supportive or unsupportive admin. You choose what you think I had. Anyway, today's show is something that's kind of been on my mind. I know that title, I can't even tell you where that title came from, but Bandicapped is like, it's what I used to refer to my students when they would be on the sick and shut-in list. Like, you know, if you're a marching band director or a band director that's ever had athletic band, you know, your kids get hurt like breathing air now. Like, this generation get hurt from breathing air. I know that sounds like petty, but y'all know what I mean. Like, a fly hits them and like they're dying. Even my own son, I took him outside. We do fire pitting, and he was out in the yard. I made him go out the yard one day to help my husband. And you would have thought that he went out into the wilderness. He came in complaining about mosquitoes, and then he goes in the bathroom, gets like a bottle of rubbing alcohol and like pours it on himself. I was like, dude, it's a mosquito bite. Like, you're not dying. You're not dying. And it's like, it's not that big of a deal, but it came to realize, like, I started to notice a change in my students' like reaction to being outside before the pandemic. And band camp at my school starts tomorrow. I ain't participating. They're taking another direction, and I'm not sure if I even want to be support staff just because of what they're going to be doing. I don't know if I can add to it, but they just be dying off of breathing air. And it just drives me nuts. And so after students like falling out, and I know like some people brag about students falling out, but maybe 2018, I noticed my students really could not handle outside, even if it wasn't hot. They just standing still. I can't breathe. I'm like, we didn't even march yet. Like, what the hell you mean you can't breathe? So I started, I changed how I did band camp. Like, I completely restructured how we did band camp. And so that leads me to the first question for the panel and for our viewers. Should marching band be considered a sport, inclusive of regulations and guidelines? Let me say it again. Should marching band be considered a sport in regulation and guidelines? Y'all let me know.
Well, I think so. Well, down here they do view it as a sport. We do have to follow the same high school sport association guidelines as far as GPAs, as far as heat index warnings and all that good stuff. If it's too hot outside, we can only do a certain amount of time, and then they'll give us our limits. Like, say, it might say 30, 20, you know, something like that. But what we tried to do this summer, we didn't go outside at all until 5:30 or 5 o'clock. So it was. Sorry, y'all. I have a toddler. Shh. We had camp from. Be quiet. Stop. We had camp at 12 o'clock. It started at 12. We would stay inside from 12 to 4, and then we would go outside at 5:30. From 5:30 to 9, we were at band outside on the field. So we didn't really have to worry about that as much because it was cool. However, those that did go from like 8 to 8, they had to do 30, 20, or 30, 15, or as needed.
So y'all structured the day kind of around, of course, the temperature, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it will make no sense because, I mean, the kids don't retain a lot when they're exhausted. So if you'll be going over the same thing. If you think about it, night rehearsals were always more productive than the day rehearsals. If you really just think back, even on your college years, our night practice was always better than the 3 o'clock practice because we just didn't have all those stressors there around us. We took away the fatigue, so to speak, from just Mother Nature. So yeah, once we did that, we were able to move a lot more efficiently. With doing that schedule. And also, we had a lot of parents who thanked us for that too, and they were more willing to be around and assist in other capacities because they don't want to be out there in the heat either. You know, so having them there to assist with the camp and all that good stuff was a lot easier for us to ask them to come. So yeah. And we have to have physicals. So we have to have physicals. Any place that has to, anything that has to have a physical, it should be considered a sport because it's a physical activity. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
I'm glad you said that brought up physicals. That was one I was waiting to hear somebody say. What you got to say, Lauren?
Yes, it absolutely is a sport. I was going to mention the physical things, the physical aspect of it. It protects having guidelines, just like you have it with sports, with with basketball or football. It protects both the school and the program, and it protects the students as well. So yeah, absolutely, we should be considered a sport, and we should get the same resources as a sport. We're in a lot of bands, they call the marching band an athletic band, so we should get all the same resources, such as a field, such as medical staff, to support the students. We have to too often, band programs, we have to rely on, you know, either money from alumni like GoFundMe accounts or PayPal accounts to get money for water, when those types of things should come from the school. So yes, it absolutely should be a sport. Providing medical staff, making sure, keeping documentation of who has what allergies, of who has what conditions, because that's important. Because like I said, it protects everybody in the process. And we do so much work out in the field. Like it is athletic. We have to keep condition in order to do the sport of marching band. Not only are we moving physically, but we're playing our instruments as well. That's what makes us different. They look at us as a musical organization. It is a musical organization, but it's also an athletic, a very physical organization. We wear uniforms just like football players, and we have to perform in the heat, or we have to perform at all forms of weather, just like the athletic team. So yeah, absolutely is a sport. Because of the liability that comes with it. People get hurt, people could get heat stroke, or people, weirdly enough, when I was a kid, I was allergic to the cold. So people can be allergic to the cold. Being out in the elements is always a risk, no matter what you do. And when you're doing it at a high level of activity, it's even more of a risk. So yeah, absolutely.
And I'm glad you talked about the risk, and we're gonna really talk about like that kind of CYA. I think considering it a sport, to me, is CYA, because when you consider a sport, you automatically think like a professional organization or just sports organizations and how they operate. And I think we go wrong when we try to, I don't want to say we try to, but when people don't understand the narrative that it is a sport, like especially if you are in competitive marching band. But I'm not even going to say competitive marching bands are any different than what we consider participatory programs, meaning like they perform, but there's no trophy at the end. It's not the competitiveness that makes it a sport. And I think by definition, we think of sports as competitive, but my band director used to say, we fight the elements every day. We go outside and we fight the heat. We fight the rain. We fight whatever is happening outside is what we are up against. If there's no band across the field, you still are fighting heat exhaustion. You're fighting Newton's third law, how your feet hit that ground. That's a fight. And eventually, we all know you start to lose that battle with your joints, because that's why it's called occupational hazard. We fight these things because as I think marching band developed, we lost that idea that it was built off of military. It was, and the military is considered physical. And so when people don't see it that way, they don't understand why things need regulations, including ourselves. I started requiring physicals in 2018. You would have thought that I was trying to kill my students, and not so much the students, but I had a lot of parents who were really irate about having to get a physical. But then the same parent will be irate when that child has an asthma attack at practice. I need to know. This is not me trying to be in your business. I need to know what's going on with your child physically or mentally. So when we are engaged in the sport of marching band, I got an idea how you're doing. And if you fall out, like I know how to assess, or my support staff can properly assess you. I can't properly assess what I don't know. And, we have a situation before I started doing the physicals, and I didn't even know the child had asthma. And I'm like, you have asthma? Like, when did you get asthma? And they don't put that information on the personnel form. Like, you give them the form, but sometimes parents forget to include these things because maybe they are managing it well. And they underestimate the physical requirement and demand, especially like our babies. It's their first year in marching band, especially like those ninth graders. Oh, they be falling out. Especially if they sat on their butt all summer. That's a whole nother issue. But I did start that. I used to do a presentation on marching band before anybody could hit the field. You would have thought I was trying to kill people because they was like, we can't go outside until everybody watches us. Yes. And I made it digital for parents. I sent it to an email. I said, just because you're not here doesn't mean I'm not going to hold you accountable for what you should have read. Sending those forms home wasn't working. They weren't coming back accurate. They weren't putting down asthma. They weren't putting down, my child is allergic to the sun. Like, that's a thing. I'm allergic to the cold. I'm allergic, or my child has joint issues. And that's not saying we didn't have those same issues. I just think, it's a different time. People are a little bit more aware of their physical and mental. So just holding them accountable. That's my opinion. Yes, it's a sport. And yes, we need those regulations for every single thing you do, especially with minors. That's my spiel. How do y'all feel about, since we talk about regulations, rules, like disciplinary, whatever, like kids shows up perpetually late. We know what used to happen. Run. I used to be like, run to Jerusalem. But, you can't say stuff like that nowadays, like run to Jerusalem. The kids would laugh, and they knew that meant like a lap. But to a parent, they're like, my child's going to fall out trying to run to Egypt. I'm like, y'all know sarcasm still exists, right? The students know they're not running to Jerusalem. But I even had to like regulate how I talk and joke, and I'm very sarcastic. I don't know. What you think, Jennifer?
Well, we do, and our part of our warm-up routine is, we do our stretches and all that good stuff. So if somebody's late, and we do a lap as well as a group, as a unit. So if they're late, we always have a drum major in place at the gate. They go through that stretching routine and they run that lap. So it's essentially not a punishment because you're just catching up for what you missed. So that's kind of what we do. I don't really like the, oh, you late, go do this. Like just like excessive things. We that's wasting time. And then they're not going to be effective and efficient in your rehearsal. So you just got them being tired because you mad that they were late to your rehearsal. Like, put your ego to the side. They might have been late for a reason. You didn't even give them a chance to talk to you. Like, I'd be late for practice at the high school. So like, I already know them kids probably late. They involved in a lot more than I'm involved in. You know what I'm saying? So they might have had ride issues. Their parents probably did get off work late. You know what I'm saying? So if they are late, at least have a little bit of compassion. Now, if they're like always late, hey, let's talk to your parents. Let's figure this out because I'm about to remove you at this point because you're not being effective in an effective way. And it's not fair to everyone who is sacrificing their time. So, I like to use my words. I don't like to use physical punishments because those words going to stick. It's like giving whoopings. Like my mama never stopped whooping me because I was like, whatever that. I figured out that pain was temporary. Like I'm still gonna be bad. Like, but when they sat down and talked to me, you know what I'm saying, took things away from me that I really like, it was more of a long lasting impression. So I try to use that with my students. I'm not really and people that have been in my band room, like, you're the polar opposite of what you are in real life. Yeah, like I'm loud and crazy or whatever. But when I'm talking to my kids, I'm not going to do all that to you. I'm about to explain to you and show you why or what you're hurting. Like you're hurting your friends. You ain't hurting me, right? You're hurting your friends. Like their show isn't going to be complete because of you. How do you feel about that? And I ask them, how do y'all feel about that? And it take their friends to put pressure on them more so than us. So just diverting that energy to somewhere else, because it's easy to just go straight to being mad. Like that's like a go-to for us, is to be mad about something all the time. All right. So if we just really divert it and turn it into a positive and a learning experience, it'll be easy and it rectified. Like I rarely have kids miss, and when they miss, their parents tell me why they miss, because I tell them I don't believe kids because y'all be lying. So their parents have to tell me why they're missing. Usually within that week before. I say 2 weeks, but I give them that week before, and if it's an emergency, then yeah, I just gotta accept that.
Being flexible. And you know, some people say we're being soft, but I don't know. Lauren, what you got?
There absolutely should be rules and regulations, and going outside of the being late aspect and the punishing the student aspect, it would having rules and regulations would give a different outlook to the community on what band really does. Like, you know, a parent, they're quick to pull their child out of band if their child is not doing well in school, or if they got punished at home. They use band as a punishment because they see it as something, taking them out of band as a punishment because they see it as, you know, something fun they like to do, this, that, and the third, not seeing it as a class and not seeing it as an activity that they do for the school. They wouldn't pull them out if they were on a sports team. They would still have to make the game, make the track meet or whatever. You know, having those regulations would make the parents, I guess, think twice about letting their child join the band. Like if you miss a performance or if you miss a certain amount of practices, they're gone. You can't just pull a child out because of what they did outside of band. So yeah, I would say on that aspect, yeah, having rules and regulations are important. Also shows the administration, you know, that you guys are not just a club, that it is an organization that could build them towards either their future, either if they go down the career path of being a musician, a band director in the music business, or just developing life skills such as discipline and time management. So rules and regulations teach everybody how to treat the band, not just the students, but the community.
I was about to type it, and you said it while I was typing. Treat the organization the way you want others to treat it. And if you treat it like
absolutely,
a sport, it's going to be received like a sport. If you treat it like a club, it's going to be received like a club. And that was ultimately where I bumped heads a lot with my last administrator, is that she really just couldn't get it out of her head it wasn't a club. Even the class, even though I actually had a band program where I didn't have a lot of kids who participated just after school. Like these were kids in class, so they were getting part of their grade for it. I was making an incentive, so it wasn't a part of their grade like in a punitive way. If you participated in marching band during the marching band season, I didn't give you playing tests in class. Oh, they liked that idea but you still had to know your music to be on the field. So it's kind of like I still got what I wanted. Like you're still learning and demonstrating more than the kids in class what you know day by day, because you have to present it. Your grade is on the field. But I had an administrator, she just couldn't get, it wasn't a club. It's not a club. And so when kids would have a medical situations, and nothing out normal, if you eat cheeseburgers all summertime, then you're going to have difficulty moving up and down that field. Like just plain and simple. It's not any more strenuous than walking around your neighborhood. But if you don't walk around your neighborhood, then that's strenuous. So I'm glad we talked about kind of not just in action and how we discipline, but just how we treat it as far as our mindset, because it's our mindset that has to have that direction first. And if we don't, and I'll say that is definitely a problem in my area in the DMV. It's just looked at as a club, and we get club results. So if anybody ever want to know, everybody up here considers it a club. And because it's considered a club, black, white, purple, they're going to treat it like a club. So do you think HBCU bands just moving more so in towards this occupational habit, do you think we implement marching and playing techniques that causes physical problems later on in life, aka band hurt, because that was a hashtag. Y'all remember band hurt? Band hurt. Yeah, watching people walk across campus during the day, and you on the field, or everybody goes to the party, and you still outside at homecoming night, like band hurt. Do you think we need to? Do you think there's things that get implemented that causes band hurt, physically or mentally? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. And I'm saying this because I wasn't the best marcher in the world, but yeah, absolutely. I didn't know that the point and drive was actually detrimental to our feet and our knees. Like I felt like I had arches in my feet. They say, "Oh, your arches can't fall." Yeah, I felt like my arches fell. Like I slip on carpet because my feet are flat now. I've done it a few times. Like when the carpet is flat, you like if you haven't vacuumed in a while, if the carpet is flat, like you can easily slip on it. And that's a result of being in marching band because your arches fall. And yeah, pointing and driving messes up your knees. Like I have knee problems because of it now. And I know a lot of people that have knee problems because of marching band. The technique was to look good. The technique wasn't meant to save your body or your joints from, or it wasn't meant to preserve them later in life. It was meant to look good for the moment. And I think a lot of us are ignorant in the true sense of the word ignorant to the fact of what it really does to your body, and that there are ways to prevent that type of damage to it. I think our leaders did what they did because of what they were taught. They do what they're taught and they pass it on to their programs. It's not anything that's malicious. It's not intentional that they want us to, have arthritis at young ages, later in life. However, it's something I really would like to know if there's anybody studying this, if there is a proper technique um, that doesn't mess up your knees for the rest of your life. I know for football, they used to have a concussion study, which they silently let go after that movie Concussion came out, but that's another story for another day. But they used to study that because, the concussions that actually cause mental health issues among football players later in life, which contributed to them abusing their families up to committing suicide. So I think there should be a study like that for marching band and techniques. And we should implement techniques on how to have our students march efficiently and safely down the field to prevent their joints. So, all in all, I say, yeah, this band hurt. I feel it in my joints every day now. Like, absolutely, I suffer from band hurt. This sounds like a lawsuit question. Did you or a loved one ever suffer from band hurt? That sounds like a class action lawsuit that some attorney 20 years down the road is going to put. You'll see it on TV like mesothelioma. It's just, yeah, it'll be on there in the middle of the day between Price is Right and Young and Restless.
Now I agree about that because my experience was a little different because I quit band in 10th grade, like high school band in 10th grade, and just took lessons privately for the last 2 years because I focused on track. So I ran track competitively for 2 years, but I started getting cortisone shots in my legs and my toes and everywhere, in my knees prior to me going to FAMU. So I can't really blame everything on FAM. I can't really blame anything. I can say that I already knew what I was getting into. My doctor definitely told me you need to ice down after you practice, and you need to stretch after you perform. And we would always warm up, but we would never warm down. I think if we stretched after games, after practices, it'll help those joints and things. I continued to get those cortisone shots through college. What I did notice, like when we tell, and that was me, like, ignorant in the true sense, coming in, young leader saying, hey, we got to drive our toes in the ground. But essentially we were taking that to heart, and it's not really your toes. You cannot do that. You're gonna break your toes, people. We really it really shouldn't even be because when we think of our toes, we think about the tips, okay? And that's not what it should be. You know what I'm saying? That's detrimental to your body, putting all that pressure on your knees and all that good stuff. There's ways to visually get around that. Well, they won't even know. I used to teach my section another way to help them out. Like, hey, if this is starting to hurt, then we need to transition you to this. Let's do this. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is at a need-be basis. You not a one-size-fit-all thing. And I think that's what we try to make our technique as, our marching technique is, hey, everybody should be able to do this. No, everybody can't do that. You know what I'm saying? We got to be a little bit more versatile. We have to be more inclusive with the marching styles. Not, like I said, not everyone can do everything. It is what it is. And also finding a safer way to do so, or having a person there to properly show the leaders how to march and how to do it safely, and then them going out, sending them out to the band to do it efficiently and relay that information as well. So that's my thing. We have children leading children. Even when you're 21, 22, we're still kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we going by what we learn from other kids, and it's like an old wives' tale, man. It's like passed down from generation to generation. And I tell everybody, and I mean,
it's the Wild Wild West. That's what it is.
People gonna go off on me, but they used to say, "Hey, y'all used to rattle fast. We used to rattle faster than that in the 80s, in the 70s." I'd be like, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, a lot of y'all was not like just sober, okay? We're sober over here. We can't move that fast. All right. The government introduced all types of stuff back in them days, and
gone off the henny.
I was like, I can't move that fast, y'all. I'm trying. Not every still shot you see, I'm gonna be looking good. But baby, I be tired. And if we push our bodies to these limits that we should not push ourselves to, like, it's just weird to me how we operate and how the brain works. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's weird how when we're in rehearsal we can do it this way, but then we think we're gonna automatically turn it up at the game with a uniform on and these heavy shoes and these 50,000 people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just weird how we think, and it's just like not only the director's fault, it's our fault too. We kind of dumb, y'all. We gotta practice how we perform.
I'm trying to transition myself out of it.
50,000 people. Yes.
When have you ever practiced how you perform every practice? If you practice every day. Can't nobody understand. I don't believe nobody that said I went full out every day and practice all the time. Shut up, lying.
They lying. No, you didn't.
Right.
No, you
like,
didn't.
Lying. Like, they come up
after the party, and after that Mad Dog 2020.
I was just trying to make it through the day. It's another practice. Oh my God, we are here again. I was just trying to get through. Like,
and by that night practice, I done had me some Nouveau. I know y'all remember Nouveau, honey. I had Nouveau. So I know I wasn't finna do nothing for real. Like, I was, and by the time I did go to the game, I'm like, damn, I should have really went out, and my body still ain't ready. Like, I just can't do it. But I said all that to say, we have to be safer in our practices and games. And how we be safe, I don't know. It has to be tailor-made for your program. There's not a one-size-fits-all for safety. And a study can't be made as an entire group because we don't have the same practices. So, I mean, we will have to make that a case-by-case thing.
I wanted to tag in. I posted in the chat. It's part of an abstract from a study. There actually was a study. The reason why this topic came up because I went to the Women Band Director Association conference pre-pandemic. I want to say when we were in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and a lot of the members are former or alum of Troy University. So you already know how hard Troy is a monster band. I don't care what you think about white versus black bands. Troy is no whore. I'm just gonna say it that way. I had to say it. I had to pull out some DMV link. They are no whores. They go in. And someone did a presentation about this. This topic was a presentation, and there's an abstract. I took a little bit from it, put it in the chat for those. But they have done a study. There's some people who've done that as part of their thesis work about the injuries that are sustained from everywhere from DCI to, they had even some segments about traditional style marching, which is what all the type of programs we all came from. And I was a marcher. I was a marcher. And I think I, even to this day, am okay with really marching. Like, I've marched around the block with my students, just to show them there's a proper way to do it. Because when I was taught, my section leader was, I had a physical therapist. She's in sports medicine or something. One of my section leaders was like in the physical, and my roommate is a personal trainer from college. So she talked about how you land. And I was always very careful how I landed and how I brought my leg up. And the way she explained marching to me, I don't think that transitioned to like the whole band. But I always wonder, like, how much better would we have looked if someone explained more of the mechanics than to just do it, drive your foot. Like me and Lauren have argued, and if you asked Lauren this a couple of months ago, she would say point and drive. And then we talked about it. And a few weeks later, it's like, point and drive ain't so good in the mindset of like you said, Jennifer, we're driving. A lot of people are planting their toe in the ground first before they hit that hill. So when I march, let me see if I can get my hand in the screen. I march from a roll up lift point and then back down. And I practiced this, or, I was encouraged to practice that. I'm saying that's another show.
I did the same thing. I didn't know.
I practiced that, kind of softer landing. And I think I experienced some neat issues later because I got this bright idea to march in those dumb combat boots. Why did we do that? Now, I don't know if I was the only one. I marched in steel toe worker.
No, I've never been in a band program where I marched in combat boots.
No,
I don't know why people do that.
Sorry.
It wasn't, but here's the thing. Back to you said, Jennifer, babies teaching us what to do or upperclassmen trying to get a military look. Like, I was watching people I kind of idolized in a band do this stuff. It wasn't the shoe that they told us to buy. They, we all had those the dinkles or the marchabouts or whatever you want to call them, with a spat fit around it. And I realized the spat couldn't fit around a marching boot. And I thought in my mind, because the boots were heavy, me marching in the boots would make me a better marcher. I was already a good marcher. And I didn't realize that actually caused me damage. And some of us talking about, someone posted about their toes being numb. That was me after a while because the circulation is not getting there. And so when I got my own program, I made sure that I bought a good top of the line marching shoe. Especially after that little study and that presentation I went to, I had a revamping of how the attire that I put my kids in. Like, we didn't go full dressed in the uniform if it was hot outside. But when I was in college, we went full dress, and people think the DMV don't get hot. You all the way dumb. August and September up to October in Maryland can get belligerently hot, and not just hot, humid hot, like that worst type of hot, because we're technically below sea level. So we're like a little sweltering fishbowl when that sun come out. And I I was idolizing kids because I consider, now I teach college, they kids in their thinking. They don't always think about the consequences developmentally. Men aren't fully developed in their reasoning until 21, 22. That's when you graduate. So we got 19-year-olds saying point and drive, snap their foot, overextending our leg, and that hyperextension causes ligament issues and calcification in the joints. This is stuff I saw in the study. Arthritis before you even 40. And arthritis is not something you get just because of old age. Usually arthritis is a cause. It's caused by something. And we just kind of accept it as is at this point. This is one of those, better, you do better. So once I saw that study, I said, ooh. And they showed us pictures, and then they showed us x-rays, and I was like, ooh, that's why my knee pop in the morning. That's why I crack like that, And so better gear, but to be honest, a lot of our HBCUs can't really afford better gear, or some of the students can't afford better gear, especially those cases where they don't order the shoes. They give it, it's up to you to order the shoes. It's up to you to order gloves. And, they have special wrist supporting gloves. Like, I found all of this stuff that, to be honest, DCI, a lot of those groups invest in, even Under Armour. I remember Morgan getting Under Armour and being pissed off because Under Armour is sportswear. It's meant to breathe. It's meant to absorb sweat. You think about you at a game, it's cold outside and you sweating, and then you go inside to warm, you gonna get sick. And I don't know. We do a lot of damage to ourselves. And that mindset, I don't know. What you got?
It's like, it just comes with the territory. Like, you just need to know this. Like you say, when you had that presentation to your students and their parents before they start, that just got to be a part of it. Like, here are the risks. Like, this may happen. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a baseball, like a pitcher. They have to have Tommy John surgery. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they're continuously doing the same thing over and over again, something's gonna happen. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or it may happen. Stop. Something may happen. So it's like, at some point, yes, we can blame the band, but we also have to put it back our head. Hey, we gotta do some preventative measures, like going to the doctor, actually using your college insurance that every student receives when they become a student, that they don't realize they have. Even if you going on campus to go get checked out, you can do some preventative measures for that. And I thinking back on it, I wish I would have told my section that too. Like, hey, use your days. Like, you have off to go, or if you need to go during practice, go. Like, that's the excuse absence to go check on yourself. Sometimes we let stuff go for so long that by the time we check on it, it's too late. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's a whole nother subject about us going to the doctor. So yeah, that's that on that.
But see, unfortunate though, when we talk to, and this is just, because we women, but we gonna put it out there. Men, y'all sometimes encourage some of this foolishness more than us, and quick to call somebody soft, and quick to call. There's a lot of toxic masculinity in our marching band world when it comes to the physical demands. And we kind of have this, well, if you can't take it, then you're the issue, instead of reevaluating. Like, I've seen posts where people kind of brag about how many kids fell out. Like, what? Like, that's not a badge of honor. I've never passed out at a game, never passed out in practice. I was always trying to hydrate myself. Withholding water, and this is, I'm a little older than everybody on the scene. I remember like not getting water, like it being like, y'all haven't earned water yet. It's like, nah, water. But then you grow up and you find out you're supposed to drink like half your body weight in water. And I can honestly say they was in times, and it's supposed to be even more when you're physically active. So if it's more when you're physically active, to be for your body to run at optimal health for the activity, and you're not even getting that much water. What are we really teaching kids about their overall health? Like, what are we teaching ourselves about our overall health if we even denying things that medically, if we went to the doctor, they would say you need to drink more water. If we went to the doctor, they would say, don't keep doing this or you're going to get that. Would we ignore the doctor? So Donald said it. I hired my roommate personal trainer to train the band. I hired her, and people thought it was one of those things where the woman was now in charge, and people thought I was doing too much. You want physicals? And I sent kids home on Monday. Let me talk about some pissed off people. Pissed off. And I told them I was going to do it. I'm a person of my word. I said, I'm going to send you home if you don't come back with all your forms. Because you ain't suing me. You're not worth it. You're not worth I say it all the time. You are not worth my paycheck, my degrees. You're not worth the years of sacrifice in this and you're just not worth it. So I send you home. And they were pissed. They were pissed. And then I think that same year, a football player died of heat exhaustion on the field. Had a heart condition nobody knew about. And I said, what now? If that's your kid, you would sue my ass into destitution. You would. So why should we give a pass? Because again, that's club mentality versus we already
we're talking about mentality. The not giving you water and saying you don't deserve it, that's slave mentality. So let's not do that. Let's not. Some of us band directors sound like slave owners sometimes, and we have to step back. You don't own these people kids. And I have to tell people these are not your kids for real, okay? You can love them like your own, but it's still not yours. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still got to send them home to their parents. They need to be back home to their parents, just like you received them. So when people say, "Oh, they didn't earn this or they didn't earn that," who are you? Like, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Denying them basic things like a break and water. You can call me soft all day. My band win. We don't never lose. So I don't care what nobody really got to say. But I'm going to say right now, I'm going to give them everything they need. Everything they need. They could possibly need. Let's say you can say, hey, this, and this. And they'll give me 110%. Why? Because they know I'm going to give them my 110%. You sitting up there, essentially, sometimes we look at the show from the top. We might be in the stands or whatever. You know what I'm saying? We're not putting out that same energy. So you're thinking that you're not tired. They're not going to be tired. That ain't how life works. They got to get them kids a break. You know what I'm saying? But number one, that comes from piss poor planning too, because a lot of us don't have rehearsal plans, but we're not going to go there. So we're trying to make them waste their time because you didn't adequately prepare for what you should be today. That's your fault. That's not their fault. Give them kids a break. I'm sorry. I had to say that. I'm sorry.
Ooh.
People punish these kids and in turn making everything worse because of your lack of. That ain't right. If
my A flat, yo.
20 minute practice.
A flat minor.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm about to hit a shout. Because, girl, that not having a plan, we use that, we got to get stuff done. What? When I'm telling you, I used to push back on some of my counterparts. I'm like, what's the plan? Like, we can't get it done before this time during that week. We can't, we plan. And it got so bad, like, parents didn't even believe that we can pare down the time of rehearsal. That's like, we can't if there's a plan. If you doing the drill in your head while showing the kids the drill and it ain't on paper, like, nah, get out of here. You didn't plan. You didn't sit down at that desk and write it and make it plain. And now everybody's suffering. I'm gonna tell you one thing that would eat my soul alive was being outside in the heat, waiting for directions. Like, what we doing?
Yeah, we got to talk more about efficiency when it comes to band practice. I love that Jennifer mentioned slave mentality, because at HBCUs we have practices 5 days a week. At other colleges they have it 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We have to learn on about being more efficient with our practices. That takes planning, that takes respecting the time of both your staff and your students, because at the end of the day they're students first, and they still have to study and they still have to do whatever homework, whatever assignments that they have. Yeah, be more efficient with the time, because if you have to practice 5 days a week, you may not be the best program. We have to find a way to shave down the practice time, the 3 days a week, because if y'all don't have it, y'all don't have it. And have it at 5 days versus 3 days, it's not going to make a difference. Yeah, I think we should follow. I think a lot of HBCUs could do well with following that model of having marching band practice Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now, when you do have those practices, make sure you have the practice planned out to where everybody can learn everything effectively, but it could be done. And I think having it 5 days a week, it contributes to the band hurt, because even though it's going back to athletic sports, because athletes, they train every day. At least if you don't have practice, train or have sectionals, do that on your off days. It doesn't have to be the show, run down a show every day. Work on the fine tuning, the details of the show, music. Work on the music. Work on. I wish, knowing what I know now, I kind of wish we had days where we were training, went to a weight room, whatever, just to teach the band how to condition on their own. We waited until band practice to condition. I wish we had days like that where we learned how to go through the weight room and how to work certain machines and everything, just to keep us conditioned and to make the whole band better, because it's not just about the entire band, it's about individual practice and respecting the time, people's time. If you respect people's time, they will be loyal to the program. I really hate when leadership, there isn't a plan for the day. Okay, there should be a plan always. You have an entire season ahead of you, so try to make those plans on those days. It's easier said than done. I get it. It's easier said than done, because there are things that come up where you need to practice field. Oh, the football team is on the field. Okay, what are we going to do now? So yeah, I understand those situations come, but try to plan to the best of your ability.
Well, I saw where Keita said, with all the stands music and drill and dance routine. Okay, a lot of our dance routines, and I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, are recycled from year to year with moves. We can always, some of our moves have names. We kind of know that, so it's not like the PWIs and the BOA, the Bands of America groups that have completely different drill. That learn 100 and something sets every year. I mean, brand new sets every year, with props that they have to hold. So we're talking about learning a dance routine, not trying to narrow one down, put one above the other, but I've taught both. You know what I'm saying? I taught a band that went to Bands of America. I taught bands who went to all of these big HBCU events and high school battle of bands and all that good stuff. And honestly, it took longer to learn the Bands of America stuff, simply because it was a little bit more moving parts. With HBCU stuff or HBCU style, when it comes to the dance routine, you're doing it as a unit, versus everybody else has their entire show for the Bands of America stuff. Everybody has their own coordinates the entire time. So your drill still probably step twos and follow the leaders or squads. So it is a little easier and less time consuming. Yes, we have stands music to learn. That's fine. I get that, but that can be done inside. And that can be done during pre-drill or band camp or whatever you call it. Okay. But you still have that core group of students that know that too. You know what I'm saying? So the pieces are gonna get played. I think that we bring those up as if we have more to do. No, we don't. Like it's not. We got to stop thinking like that. Like how are they so efficient? And I ain't gonna lie, Myra is like a beast with the efficiency. She would say, we're gonna learn drills sets 1 through 10 today. We're gonna learn those today. And guess what? By the time 8 o'clock hit, when practice is over, sets 1 through 10 will be learned. Now, unless something like something with the weather or something happens. And once we hit set 10, guess what? Practice is done. Have a good day, guys. I'm not gonna waste your time. I've done everything on my drill. We could finish the entire drill. We could finish the entire dance routine. We could learn the concert selection. We never had a dance feature because we ain't got dancing drills. But we could do all that, and we'll have an hour left. And they'll say, "All right, let's go sit in the stand." Why? We done. I'm ready to go home.
I was in the Baltimore Ravens band, and they have practice once a week. It absolutely can be done, and they have more to do. Like they have. Just like the bands of America you were talking about, they have exact coordinates. They have exact coordinates, and you have to you have different colors. You have to leave what was it? Was like a little
markers.
Markers. Yeah, that you put down on the yard line. You go to your next spot, but you learned it that one day. So I'm not going to refute what Mr. Colson said. I don't want to mispronounce your first name, Kieta, but yeah, I don't want to refute what he says, but it's something that it could be done 3 days a week. That's why I said, like, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, have sectionals. Learn your music then,
and pay for the UDB app. We could get the UDB app. It's the ultimate drill book. It'll show your spot, the entire drill, and it'll show it in motion to help some people out too. We just need to invest.
I'm glad you said that, Jennifer, because I'm the techie person. The moment, first of all, if you treat marching band rehearsal like rehearsal instead of practice, because there's something about a word, and you make a plan. And what you talk about, Myra makes plans. She makes a plan. Not saying you gotta have a whole lesson plan, but there are apps that help with this shit now. I kid you not. I did a presentation of how many band directors didn't know that Poware has an app that your students can download. You share the drill with them. It's not top secret. If you doing the planning and the work you say you're doing, that drill should be ready before the kids come outside. You shouldn't still be writing a set before they come outside, because you're actually wasting your time too. Or do something else until the drill is done. But that Poware has an app, and that app, you share that drill. And I saw students at Morgan, like one of my former students was, section leader, and she was helping with choreography. And they were just marching around with their phones on their hand. And I said, damn, that's efficient. We used to get one drill sheet per section or something like that. We had to huddle around. It was so much more efficient to watch people walking around with the app on their phone and know where they need to go. And then I don't know how they did it to this date. I might have to ask Renard James, but one year we came outside and the entire drill was painted on the practice field. Each set was a different color. I said, this is some good shit right here. I mean, I was like, this is what it's supposed to look like, because a lot of times our kids can't really visualize the drill from that chart too. We got different types of learner at that. So it's about planning. I really think it's about planning. And I found once I started planning better, my group looked better. My group sounded better. And I was using less time. And maybe, this is just being real. Jennifer, you have a kid. I have a kid. A lot of women, by the time they get out of high school, they have families. And it's not socially acceptable for us to be outside until 10 o'clock at night. Someone's losing their shit by then. My son, if he used to be with me, which he was almost with me every day, he was losing it, like being out there. Like, go home, my husband cranky because he ain't seen me all week. Like, so we just have to learn how to, and this is, not saying that men don't take their kids to practice with them. I know a lot of people like Eugene Diggs. He got a family. He got a lot of kids. And I've seen people with their kids on the field and with them at practice. But I just think because we have some of those other societal roles that we still are kind of filling in more than our male counterparts, we just have to be efficient. Like, I don't have time to waste. I got to get home by this time. I got to get in the house by this time, or this little boy can't get up for school in the morning. So, yeah, you can do it in 3 days. It's like someone asked me, we had a situation where we got cut down the field time to 6.5 minutes one game. And I remember going in the office with my staff arguing toe to toe. It was like, we can't do everything that we do on the field in 6.5 minutes. I learned how to write nonstop shows like PWIs do, nonstop, one went to the next. If I can arrange it so you can get all the meat and we be off that field well before that clock tick down. But it is planning. But we also don't learn this in college. We do, Jennifer said it, we do what we're taught or not taught. And we never sat in our band director's office and saw how he planned or she planned. And we never saw all those things. Here we are. We just repeating the good things and a lot of bad things at this point, including when we get to 40 and we find out we got calcification on the knees. We find out that I was getting cortisol shots in the bottom of my feet, and I realized I had to lose weight. But it's not saying it was all marching band fault. That's not what I'm saying. I just feel like we don't do all the things that we can to make our own lives better. We don't, like I said, nobody teaches us this. There should be a class in college. I believe it. I believe it hands down. There should be a class about the business of band, especially athletic bands, because we just do what we sing. And just because we saw it and just because our group was winning trophies doesn't mean we were doing it the best and most efficient way for us and our kids on the long term. We just be thinking about, making it to the end of the season for real. Any of us got any physical issues? I feel like you said, it's a class action suit, Lauren. This is from Lauren. Do you suffer from the effects of marching band? Let's talk mental. We've been talking physical.
Well, I hurry up and do stuff now. Like I'm like a rusher, right? Like but that in turn made me a procrastinator. So because we would not do anything Monday through Wednesday and then put the show together Thursday, Friday, then we leaving Friday night to go to a game on Saturday. So and it always came together. So in my brain, it's like, okay, we went through Monday, we watched the show, whatever, we talked about it. Tuesday, show planning committee, we meeting, we gonna change a few things. Wednesday, we introducing it. Thursday, we really teaching it. Friday, we got those 2 rehearsals. We got Tennessee State and Atlanta. We got to get this right. Y'all know they're going to have 100 songs. You got to learn these 75 today. And somehow we always got it done. Like somehow we all, and in my brain, I started my career like that. I would say, we'll be all right. It'll be all right by the time, it's going to be straight. But now working more efficiently and not stressing at the end made my life so much easier, especially and my job even more enjoyable. I don't see how they do that every week. Like, that's stressful. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you're going to change the drill, I would know by the week before, or planning with my staff, I would know each week what I want to change. And as the songs change, I can say, we're going to input that one here. You know what I'm saying? This is the new one. We're going to input that one here. But just to go blind, it's just kind of weird to me. Like Keita said, it's proper planning makes, for better practices and all that good stuff and more efficient practices versus just going out there and say, hey, man, what y'all think about this? No, bro, it ain't time to talk. You wasting my time. Like, let's get this practice going. Like, I ain't here to have no debate. Tell me what I need to do so I can go home. All right, y'all are paying me out here for my scholarship to be here. I'm paying me. This is a job. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to clock out. All right. This ain't no conversation. So we be having
sorry, your child just Sound like they just let out a whole bunch of Legos and I'm over here dying.
And she did. And let me tell you something. This is the diary of a lady band director. You're gonna hear Legos in the background.
Tell the truth. Listen, we don't edit kids. Kids are in our house. They in our house, and we gotta let them do them sometimes.
It's not the editing. It's just I just hear it, but the shh. I said, "Oh, those are Legos."
And I just cleaned her
Lord,
room before this. I just cleaned it up.
oh,
You gonna be back to square one.
It's but
I'm sorry.
like it's okay. But literally, like the problem that we have is just not having efficient planning, and we're going out there. I call it butt naked. You go out there butt naked, not knowing what you're doing. You just going by rote and flying by rote, and it's detrimental to your students. And it's wasting their time. Sometimes you don't even have to have a night rehearsal. Why do you need 2 rehearsals a day? Why? You can eliminate one if you had an efficient plan and went by that actual plan. I mean, kind of like what we do K through 12.
And the crazy part is they blame it's like a reverse psychology thing because they put it on us when it's really them. They put on this like the students, they put on the band students like, no, y'all not getting. Like, no, you're not giving it to us. Like, what is it that you want? It's so funny. Like, no, y'all gotta take that back. And y'all knowing like this isn't the vision that you had in mind, because you're supposed to write it down and make it plain, and just sometimes it doesn't come together the way you want. But also, if you didn't plan for it to be that way, there's only so much your band students can do. I think it's funny, like, now that you're saying it, Jennifer, it's like, dang, they're telling us to take it back and do this and do that, and the third one is really not us. It's when, like, it's y'all, like, like, plan this better.
Because they say like, you don't have enough energy. That'd be like those regular surface level things where they don't really know what happened, so you gotta do it again so they can figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So that was a wasted rep, pretty much. So you just wasted that rep. Then you gotta do it again. And then they're gonna watch this time, and then they're gonna tell you what you did wrong. Then you gotta do it again, right? Like, so essentially, each time they see a problem, you got 3 reps to do it. You get us at least. So that's my experience.
Oh goodness, Krystal, to answer your question about what it did to me mentally, the whole perfectionist thing, wanting to get it right, being a perfectionist is like, I gotta throw it away because I messed it up. No, that's what band did to me. Also, the sense of feeling bad because I'm idle. Because your time is, I did marching band for 10 years, and like most of your day is taken, like your whole day is full when you're in band. And that first couple of years being out of marching band, I mean, we grow up and we get jobs or whatever, but like those first couple of years, feeling idle feels so weird. Feeling like you have to be somewhere at 4:00 in the afternoon feels weird. So that idleness for me, even now, it gives me a sense of failure. Like, I'm idle. Oh no, like I have stuff to do and it's not getting done. And I have like this, it gives you a sense of failure because you're taught time management, you're taught responsibility, you're taught how to be pretty much a leader. And when you feel yourself slipping, you're scared of what the consequences will be if you slip. And that's with anything. It could be something small. It could be something big, like doing chores or doing, I make sure my bills are paid because they have to be paid. But still, like, if you're not where you are in life, this is more philosophical and it's more personal to me because I'm kind of going through this now. You feel like you're failing. So I think with band, it has a lot, for me, band has a lot to do with it because, it's a sense of accomplishment. And I don't have that same accomplishment right now, if you understand what I mean. So yeah, just time management and the feeling of being idle. That's how band mentally got to me. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be idle.
I don't want this to be a marching band is all bad. I think time management is one of the best things we got out of being a marching band. Mentally, I think management of time, self accountability or even group accountability, because that's something you need working in teams. And a lot of us work in careers, not just band, that are we have to work in teams and groups and know how to compromise and know how to get a task done within a time frame. I'm still sick from this week. Some of y'all like COVID. Nah, I ain't got COVID. Hold on, let me get something to drink.
Well, I don't like you. I'll piggyback. Band. I don't think band is bad. Of course, I'm a band director, so we all band directors. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I will say that I took everything. Everything is a learning experience. Life should be a learning experience. So, all of my grievances that I may have had, I made sure to fix them when I deal with my students. So in 15, 20 years, they won't be on a podcast talking about my high school or my middle school band director did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to make it as positive as possible. And if you call that soft, that's fine. You know, I don't care if you say, you know, y'all just don't want to practice. That's okay. It ain't that I don't want to practice, but I got a family that I need to be home to. I'm not going to do late nights. I'm not going to do early mornings. Like, we're not going to do that. Like, I have a whole family. There's more to life than band. And some people don't realize that either, because band is their life. And band ruins, like, it can ruin a relationship too. If you're thinking about how much energy you put into everybody else, by the time you get home, you have nothing else to give. You know what I'm saying? So you got to protect yourself. You got to not only protect your students, you got to protect your family, all of that. And like I said, when I talked about the slave mentality type thing, that just goes for not only the director and their students, but like they're just their thought process with life. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how it should be all the time. And it kind of carries over to their home. And that's why a lot of directors are divorced, like, because that's how it happens. Like, it's a high divorce rate in the band director realm. It is. Like, I know I'm one, like, because it was just stressful. Like, it was very stressful, y'all. Like, it's really stressful, especially when you would do things like, because I'm very arrogant. Okay, I don't know if you guys noticed by now, but I'm a proud woman, and I'm proud to say that my groups are good. Like, I try to insert that as much as I can, because everybody else does. Why can't we? You know what I'm saying? Like, why not? But that sometimes becomes intimidating if you are that assertive about what you're good at. And I realize that your bands take on your personality. If you become a planner, if you become a person that works hard on the front end instead of the back end, your band will prepare like that. Why not get the show ready on Monday? They'll put in all their effort and energy to make sure it gets done like that. But if they know you ain't gonna get nothing done on that first practice, that's when attendance issues come. That's when all those issues that most of the other stuff like all those other issues that we were talking about at the beginning of the show, that's when all that happens. If my kids know Monday, they're gonna get all the information they need for that week. So they're never gonna miss that Monday rehearsal. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just how we work. And once you get that instilled in those kids and those students, then you won't have a lot of those problems. It'll eliminate a lot of the issues that you have, because kids don't like their time being wasted. They could be playing Roblox and being on their PlayStation instead of listening to you sit there and talk about what you think you want the drill to be. They got a little too much work to do.
When I was in college, I used to skip first practice because I felt like my time was being wasted. Like, the whole practice would be spent on the warm up. And, you know, you have certain leadership on the podium thinking they're doing something with the band. Like, nope, start over. I used to text my section leaders and ask, like, what are we doing? He would say, oh, we're still doing the warm up, Lauren. I said, I'll see you at second practice. Because I did get to that point where I felt like my time is being wasted. We're not working on music. We're not working on the drill. I don't feel like sitting the whole practice to work on the entire warm up. Like, who? I know it's to develop, I guess, the playing ability of the band, but if you're going to keep taking it back to the beginning and we weren't making progress. That's the thing. We weren't really making any progress. It was just for us to do something because we had to do something between 4 to 6 p.m. I said no. I'm not coming to first practice. I'll come to second practice when we're on the field and we're actually working on something. So yeah, I get it. I had another point to say. Oh, this the conversation that is going on in the chat is interesting. About what to do. How do you make band practices more efficient? Like I said, I'm not a band director. I'm a grad student. So that, I would pose that question to Krystal or Jennifer.
I tell you my practice. They already know. You coming in, the bell ring at 3:05. Let's say the bell ring at 3:05. Baby, you got into 3:10 to get your stuff up. You got to go to the bathroom. You got to get everything done. All right? 3:10, we starting with this warm-up. That warm-up not going to last longer than 10 minutes. Keep in mind, my goal to get you out is 5:30. Okay? At 3:10, we playing. 3:20, we were done with that warm-up. 3:21, we starting whatever drill or whatever music we need. Let's say I want to get measures 1 through 40 done and measures 1 through 20 memorized, right? I want to get 1 through 20 memorized, but 21 through 40 at least learned, if that makes sense. There's a difference between the two. So, hey, I'm going to get that to 3:45. I'm going to do that to 3:45. By 3:30, measures 1 through 21 are already memorized. Why? Because I already had an efficient ... This is how we're going to do it. Okay, that didn't work. I had a plan B. That didn't work. I had a plan C. Keep in mind, it takes a lot of time. So during my planning period, I actually plan and do what I'm supposed to do as my job. So I definitely make those pinpoints and those things down. I write those things down. By the time 3:45 come, I'll go down to my next bullet point. This is what I want to do next. By 5:30, like I said, unless something crazy happens, I am 99.9% done with everything I had. And I don't care if you're teaching 5th graders or people in college. If you properly plan, there is no reason why it can't be effective. I don't care. Because like they say, people I have night practice. Okay, who cares? I got kids who play sports, who are in the band. That's not going to be there. So we all have the same problems. We all got the same issues with money. We all got the same issues with we got to add parents because, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole nother segment that collegiate directors don't have to deal with as much. You know what I'm saying? So we got all these different things that we got to do. We're just more efficient, and we have to turn in lesson plans. When they get to that level, they typically don't have to do the lesson planning thing anymore. They just go by what they know. They go by routine, and that can't always work because you don't routinely have the same kids every year. You got to adjust.
If you don't mind, go ahead and finish, but I'm going to tag into that.
Oh, no, you got it. I'm good.
Because you exposed something that I don't know if you exposed. And this is, I don't know if people know, like, I don't want to be an administrator, but I can't deny it anymore because that is really what I am at this point. And I'm just going to say it publicly. Yes, I know I'm now an administrator. I'm still a music educator, but I do a lot of administrator things. And one of those things in my last district, and now still more in a new district that I thought I was just going to be able to be quiet and be in my classroom and do what I want to do and leave at 3:30. Now I supervise future music educators, band directors. I was always a part for the past at least, at the very least 7 or 8 years, was part of the hiring of new band directors in my current district, and on a collegiate level, I mentor band directors, the future band internships. In my band, and here's why: my first mentee, what happened by accident? We were hosting PD in my band room for the district, and one of the new band directors stood up and had a meltdown. So we're talking mental health. Because, I'm gonna connect in a second. He had a meltdown. Like, we was talking about director patterns and conducting. We was doing like sample conducting, a reading kind of group where you put music out, the band directors read it all the way from grade 0.5 to grade 5 to see feasibility in how you get through a rehearsal. And what was very telling was people who are not used to planning. We gave everybody 3 minutes. It's just like going in that sight reading room. You're a band director. You go in there in sight reading room. You got 3 minutes to look at that score and decide how you're going to get through that piece. What if all our rehearsals had that intensity? You got 3 minutes to teach a concept, teach a skill, or go through a skill. And what was exposed when the young man stood up, he had this meltdown, and it was about, I can't get my kids to sit down. That's what he kept saying. Y'all, this sound all good and all, but my kids can't sit down. I put stuff on the board, and I said, if you don't mind, invite me to your classroom. Invite me to your classroom. I'm going to sit in the back, and I'm not going to say nothing the entire time. And I did. And what I saw was a lack of routines and procedures, student self-efficacy. These are things we learn in programs. If you go a music education track, especially if you get that master's, I really, really want people to stop belittling these degrees for education. If you're in a good program, they're going to help you through a lot of the pitfalls that a first-year teacher might experience. I got my master's before I was a band director. So I came in with a little different set of tools, and I'm thankful. And one of those tools, I watched a guy, he missed the mark. I was like, the kids don't know what to do when they come in. And I could tell because they come in and they do something else. Like, there's no routine in place. There's no student leaders doing stuff for you. Some of these pitfalls, some of these band director headaches is because you haven't trained your students how to have efficacy and accountability on their own unless you barking at them. I had to learn how to come off my podium and bring a group of students who were responsible to the office and say, I need this, and this done. And if you help me, we all leave here at 5:30. And I watched this teacher go from couldn't get kids to play through a song, not after school, not during school, to being now a teacher leader in the district. He now runs PDs. And it happened by the end of year one, going into year two, and definitely by the end of year two, everything that I saw that he was doing that was really counterproductive, he had stopped doing. And I watched his group sound better. He wasn't losing his mind at PD. He can participate because he couldn't even participate in PD because he was stressed out. Every day was a fight. Every day was a battle. Now, in the first years, yeah, but classroom management, Keita, you just said it. Classroom management matters on the field. It matters. Management is really planning what will, as much as possible, being able to see what can go wrong before it goes wrong. Really, that's what a lot of classroom management is preventative care. But we don't have preventative care with band. We have reactive care. We have going to the ER because you've been eating sugar orange slices for 10 years straight. And now you have diabetes. And now you're trying to say, well, now you're forced into a lifestyle change instead of it being a natural occurrence. And unfortunately, band directors, and this isn't just a HBCU problem, our training programs are not training us from preventative care measures. They're training us from reactive care. And it shows in our classroom. It shows on the field. It shows in how students respond to what we want them to do. Because it's a lack of, it's either lack of training or bad training or the absence of, like I said, lack of training. It's not always that the plan failed. Is that we either didn't tweak it. I assess band a lot differently than what people do. When they do something wrong on the field, at some point during that rehearsal, I go to the top of the stadium and record them. And as soon as they come back in the band room before dismissal, or the very next rehearsal starting before we even start warming up, or even after the warm up, only 10 minutes. Hey, look, left side of the field. Y'all missed your mark. Everybody's not hitting the line. You show them what's wrong and you address those problems in real time. You can't address it by running it over and over again. A lot of times they don't even know what's wrong. They have no idea. Or one group is actually doing it well, and then the other group or the other side of the field isn't drilling the same way. I would make half of the band sit down and say, look at what they're doing right. Take a moment. And it gives a little what we call brain break or a physical break, because they're still engaged in the activity, but now it's a more efficient. And we're just not efficient. It's causing stress. That band director showed me that day, and I felt him when he stood up, because I felt like that my first year too. I stood up and was like, y'all saying all this stuff, but I can't even get this done, or it has to be this way. We have to be comfortable going somewhere else and watching someone else do it differently. That's a hard one for, I want to say, band directors. Watching someone else do something, go to somebody else's band room. I used to go to my rival's band room, not because I was fine. There were some things they did well. There were some things they did better. I didn't tell the students that, but I would go and I'd be like, why your trombones play like this? I can't get my trombones to play like this. Or he would ask, he would call me sis, how'd you get them to do that so quick? And we share practices, and we just need to be okay with sharing practices. We not, though. The egos, man. Sometimes that ego gets in the way of your own productivity. We not God on the field. Like, we don't know it all. And our band directors didn't know it all, too. That's the other problem. It's okay. They were good. They didn't know it all. I don't know.
I think it goes back into it goes back into Black people having to find their own way. Like, our band directors had to find their own way because they weren't invited to the table. So they had to make their own table. So I think that goes with everything in the Black community. We did what we could. But now that we know better, we should do better.
And asking for help is okay. Like, not knowing is okay. We got to stop doing that. Like you said, Krystal, like putting your ego to the side. Sometimes I don't even think it's an ego. I think it's a shame thing. I don't even, when I first got out, it was kind of hard for me to ask, because I was like, I was so good in college. You was like, oh, I was so good in college, but I don't want people to think, can't believe I don't know something. You know what I'm saying? He's like, you can't believe that you have to practice something. I had to practice on being a band director and how to speak to my kids and all this good stuff. Like, it was weird. I would really practice my lessons that I would teach the kids. I would sit there, in my own little apartment, 23-year-old me in West Palm Beach, like, okay, guys, I'm like, and I'll be like, what's the finger for this again? Okay, let me pick up this. You know what I'm saying? So, like, stay a few steps ahead of your kids. But it's okay to call people. We had a nice little network down there, but we stayed in each other's band rooms, and it wasn't so much of a competition. Well, when it was time to be a competition, we made it a competition, but we were still friends in the end, and we wanted to see each other win, because sometimes we put the word win over what's the word?
How.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I started where I started, because all of my friends we were able to help, and we all played different instruments. So it was like, we would say, hey, I'm gonna have my stuff on the band camp this weekend. Okay, well, I'll schedule mine for next weekend. Okay, and we'll all just help each other for free. Okay, we were all young and crazy, trying to just help each other out. We ain't had no money at our schools. So that's just how we started, and I'm just super blessed that helped humble me. That humbled me for real, because I didn't have a lot of people down my throat. Now, if I would have started in Atlanta, I wouldn't have had that same thought process, because it's really competitive. It was a little bit more competitive up there than in South Florida, and FBA is a little more competitive than Georgia. So it's a little weird how that worked, but I felt a little bit more of a cohesive unit when it came to FBA, because we were all fighting the big bad wolf of FBA. Like, the way they had things classified, they went by school size and all that good stuff, as far as like what music you play and all that good stuff. So we were all working together to see each other succeed. Versus when I went up there, it was like a totally different thought process. It's like, I can't ask so-and-so to help me because they gonna tell everybody that my band ain't good, or I can't ask so-and-so because they might go home and put in the group chat that this was going, you know, so it's a little bit different mentality up there. Yeah. Because it was, sit down, because it was more competitive. And competitiveness does not have to be toxic. It can be positive and fun. There is a way to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be toxic. And once we get that in our brains, I think not only us as a people we be better, but especially our HBCU bands can be better, because we do have bad. I'm here to help everybody. Like, if you call me and say you need help, I'll talk to you. Like, it's so scary that people say, you with the fam? You will, like, because you don't act like that. It's like the weirdest, not the weirdest thing, but I know. Y'all ain't got to tell me how family people act. Okay, we elitists. Okay, yes. But I feel like we come with that. Some people already come with, she's not gonna help me because she with the fam. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you already giving me the short end of the stick before you even get to know me. You know what I'm saying? I give you the shirt off my back. Krystal, you hit me up like, hey, come on, yes, sis, I'll help you out, do whatever you need me to do. Like, you my girl. I don't care. Like, at some point we gotta put that behind us and still help each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want more for us. I want us to be more to do better, like to think more. I feel like a problem that we have in our culture is that we never really have a good or thought out response when people challenge us. We just go by emotions. But if you just sit back and just talk to them and teach them instead of talking at them, then maybe they'll listen. Like, I've had some people tell my students, well, when I first got this job down here, they don't like HBCU bands. And when they found out I went to FAMU, they were like, oh, HBCU bands, we heard they aren't real bands. And, you know, my first reaction was, check my resume. What your band director did? What school they went to again? Oh, okay. You know, but instead of going that route, I took the directors, I talked to them, I told them exactly what we did, what the technique is and why it is important, and what pieces I know for memory, and what all we learned, and all the experiences I gained from it, and all the money I got from it from being a student musician. And they were sitting here like, oh crap, I didn't know. A lot of that just comes from them being ignorant. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if we educate them as a unit, but we have to be a unit, but we so toxic, our toxicity level as a group, as Black people in HBCUs, it's so crazy. We're taught to hate each other. It should not be like that. Like, it should not be that way. Like, we should be able to help each other, especially in the professional realm. We hang on to that where you went to college and we 40 years old. Like, baby, that don't work no more. We got to help each other out. If I was in college and we worked together, Krystal, I would say, okay, this my HBCU counterpart. I'm gonna definitely help her because she gonna be fine. Cause let me tell you something, right? And this is the way I think. Not everybody think like that. I called somebody before, and they said, "Oh, you a rattler? You supposed to already know. Y'all don't need my help. When I'm gonna teach you?" I hung up the phone. I said, "Okay, thank you, bye."
But you can learn from anybody. Like,
I can learn from anybody. That was the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. And I made sure at festival my band went right before theirs so I could keep that stage hot for they behind. Which
he's so funny. But you expose something that, like, we don't talk a lot about. And maybe it's a topic, you know, this is where I be getting the topics. And when we start talking, I'll be like, ooh, that's a good topic. Is that we forget, like, something I noticed is that a lot of the old head band directors, seemingly in public, like on game days, they hated each other. And I don't even want to say that. They were competitive. But if you ever, like, go to the HBCU Band Director Consortium, they're friends. Like, what did we miss that? I happened to watch one day at a game. It was the worst game because it's Hampton. Morgan used to play Hampton in the coldest time of the year. And Hampton off that water in November, by mid-November, that weather could go all the way south. And I mean, it was like a 3-hour fifth quarter. I kid you not. Like, they turned out the lights. We were still out there. And I just happened to look down as we were suffering, but not giving up. Because you got to run the book the last game. And Barney Smart and Melvin Mouse were chumming it up the entire time. And I kept thinking in my head, y'all just running your mouths and y'all have forgot that we out here. And that's what we have missed, I think. We have missed that at the end of the day, we're still comrades on the field. We still fighting them same battles. Jennifer, you just said it. We fighting budget issues. And if we're not fighting it now, we've already fought it, maybe overcome it. And it helps all the kids. Listen, y'all some lying fuckers when y'all talk about horticulture. I'm here to let's call it out what it is. Some of y'all are horticulture in words. In words. You quick to talk about somebody else's program ain't set foot in a band room since before the internet. But you gotta and the problem is all great things come from somebody else's information. There's nothing that we do now that someone else hasn't done, or it was the brainchild of somebody else. You a whole dummy if you think that you the first person to ever deal with kids not showing up to practice or kids falling out. They've been falling out since, like, I'm sure if you look at those old pictures of marching band uniforms, I'm sure them joints were completely uncomfortable. And someone made a better way. Someone thought, instead of polyester, that little polymer that Under Armour makes that absorbs sweat. It's just a better product. And we don't treat band the way we treat the comforts in our life. We all do things to make life easier. The reason why we have smartphones is because they make life easier. They have some pitfalls too, but we have things that make life easier that we still fight. Why? Because of ego? Because you don't want to look like you using. To be a good teacher, forget band director. Be a good teacher. You got to have as many tools in your box as possible. Especially at this state in education. And it's just foolish to think that we got all the answers, that what you dealing with, and we have cognitive dissonance with our trauma too. We wake up in the morning and our back creak and our knees click and we like, I'm good. No, mother, you ain't good. You can't even stand up. But you swear by the program that you fought blood, sweat, and tears over. Yeah, but now you 40 and you can't even chase your own kids around the yard. And it happens with sports too, since we're going to say sports, but football had to evaluate. And now I saw an article where they wear helmets. They wear practice helmets, foam practice helmets now in high schools. Because somebody kid damn near, if they ain't died, because it's happened, somebody kid got their head knocked around too many times and somebody said, wait a minute, what are we doing? And I ain't saying we trying to raise a bunch of punks. I know somebody, let me shame the devil before somebody go, it's a podcast of women talking about how to be soft. Get that toxic masculinity BS out of here. Because some of us was out marching y'all. I know I was. I'll tell you the truth. I can march somebody up and down that field, 90s in your kneecaps, just marching to glory, marching. So it ain't about being soft. We still got to get through the task. We still got to march. We still got to perform with intensity. We still got to weather the extremes. But let me tell y'all, this sun out there ain't the same sun we was under. If you think that ozone is still intact, y'all dumb. I see it all the time. Y'all crazy. Y'all think this sun, the same sun we used to play out all day long? If you can't breathe when you get out your car in the summertime, don't act like the kids got different sets of lungs than you. You can't even breathe. You can't even breathe when you get out the car. You like, whew, it's hot. We got to go in. If you got to go in, so do they. Last question. Last two. we got, like other athletic teams, should there be a dedicated medical staff to assist with physical and emotional aspects of marching band?
We have one.
I told you I hired one.
We have one that's also a band parent. So she goes on all the band trips. She goes on all the games. She has a binder with all of their health issues and things. She has a backpack with EpiPens and inhalers. And if band directors, when you get your roster, always give your roster to the nurse. Because the nurse has a database of all the kids who have medical conditions. Every time you go on a trip, meaning every time you leave the school, I don't care if it's down the street to go play on the corner, you need to have that packet with you and those medical things. That happened to us. I was in Atlanta. We went to Six Flags, and a girl got on arachnophobia, got on that little thing that take you up and drop, and she passed out and would not wake up. Like, we did not know what happened. It was a reaction to she had something, I forget, but the nurse was there, and she was like, "Oh, she has this. I shouldn't have let her get on that ride." You know what I'm saying? I already knew ahead of time. Like we kind of reacted instead of took, you know what I'm saying, the necessary measures for her to, whatever. But I would say definitely have somebody on staff, especially when y'all have a lot of kids with a lot of issues, which a lot of kids have a lot of issues. A lot of kids self-diagnosed too, so you got to kind of look past that. But if it's, make sure you have it in writing. We definitely have a lot of kids that self-diagnose. I don't know if you do, if you did, Krystal, but I had a kid who was like, "Oh yeah, I have, I have ADD, ADHD, and depression." And I'm like, "I don't have any paperwork for you on this. Like, I need to see something." Not saying that she doesn't have it. I just don't have any paperwork. Write it down so I can properly, help you. So make sure that you have all of that stuff in a binder, or have it on a PDF or on your jump drive or on your computer, to where you can access it from your phone as well. So I always have my stuff on Google Sheets or in a Google Doc. And I share it with my principals. I share it with the school nurse, and I share it with my nurse. If she can't come, then our city, we so small, child. We have they have a nurse that's dedicated to our school. So whatever the actual nurse, if the other lady can't come, then that nurse will come with us.
I like digital copies. It's CYA too, y'all. Like, it's not just like because we trying to cater the program to individuals, because sometimes you get that documentation, you have to sit down in the office with the parent and the child and say, "You can't do this." See, we don't want to turn away numbers. We want to try to make them conform to what we want them to do. And to be quite honest, they don't know what's entailed. They don't fully get it. That's why I do that presentation day one. Before you get your butt up here, I want you to know no. So there's no way you can come back at my principal, because that's what was happening. These parents go to principals, and it happens in college too. They go to the president. They'll create a narrative. My feet hurt, and ain't talk about they got all kinds of other conditions that are inflamed by heat or inflamed by certain environments. And you didn't tell us all of it. Or I got anxiety. That's why I asked day one. And sometimes you just have to say you can't do this, or you can't participate fully in the way that we participate. You might have to wait till pep band season. But let me tell you the stipulation to be in the pep band. We use marching band music in pep band. So same stipulation. If you don't know music, you can't go out there with us for pep band. You didn't miss any work. If you ain't making rehearsals, you can't miss. If you got this many things, and we just want everybody. We want everybody, and everybody can't do everything. And I know that's counter 21st century thinking, that we can't exclude. I'm not excluding you based on, let's just be honest. If we can't accommodate it, then we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be honest with the kids. So I hired a trained nurse. One of my SAI assistants, she was an alum of the program, so certified nurse. She went on every trip with us. So parents weren't so quick to say we're killing them. And that cut down a lot of the BS, for real. "Oh, y'all just out there running a principal. You just running them into the dirt. What are y'all doing?" When the nurse show up and say, "No, when I assess the student didn't eat breakfast this morning. When I assess the student, we got to start to hit them with those words. They trust medical staff. You know, we all got a doctor. At least you should. And once I started hitting them with this, oh, well, their sheet says they have asthma. We don't have an asthma pump. So I had to sit them down. When you start treating it like the business it is, then you get a different response. And so that kind of leads to that question. I don't know. We just kind of got to have a mindset that covers us too. It covers us. And if you think you're invincible, Robert Champion exists for a reason, y'all. It's ugly. It's ugly. It's ugly when we see like athletes and we see cheerleaders, seen situation where cheerleaders have injuries, doing stunts without proper padding down under them, knock all their teeth out. These are things that we have to think about for our own behinds. And if a kid cannot do the activity because they have physical constraints, then we have to think about it. We have students who have physical and mental situations that we either cater to, or we have to adapt ways for them to participate. And it may not be in the way that gives us all the numbers on the field. And in public education, you can't really exclude anyway. So what y'all doing? You can't deny it. Somebody gonna challenge you, and somebody gonna challenge you that's gonna hurt your pocket. And like I said, as for me and my check, we gonna keep it all intact. It's for me and my check. That's what I tell people. So we just can't. We need a Google form. Drew, if I share anybody, and Jennifer, I suggest, like we'll be people of our word. I have a personnel form. I have a form for everything in my band, a digital form. I just make a copy of it and send it, adapt it to however you want to adapt it. But it just makes your band program more efficient. I'll send a presentation on, we talk about hazing. I'll send it all out. I'll put it all on one little, link or whatever. Jennifer, you want to share some stuff? Lauren, you're in arts management. That's information you got that's needed. People don't understand until they in a lawsuit or they getting fired. I'm tired of seeing us get fired, y'all. That's for real.
Look, you were talking about the H word. We have to treat it like he who shall not be named. Oh God, we got treated like Voldemort. That word. Notice after Robert Champion, Greek life in a lot of schools. I can speak for NCCU. I went to NCCU undergrad. They started having training videos for those who are interested, doing presentation on what hazing is. So it keeps them from being liable. As far as the medical staff, I remember after all that happened, we had a NCCU band has a medical person on staff now. There's a medical bag. We have a book, like you said, we had a book of people, because I was on band staff. We had a book of people who had, conditions and illnesses. Also, later down the line, they hired my chapter soror, who was a yoga instructor, to do yoga sessions with the band. So that not only helps them mentally, but it helps them physically. So it is different, but it's a good type of different. It's not the regular PT that we're used to, but it's something to get the band mind and spirit and body together. I think I would suggest any band program do that if they have the resources to do yoga. Yeah, absolutely. We should have a medical staff. If we want it to be seen as a sport, treat it as such. Ask whoever for, if you're at the high school level, a lot of people have parents who are nurses, and or they don't even have to be a nurse, just be responsible for the information, for getting information and medication from other parents for the students. On a college level, ask for, we have band boosters, but also you can hire somebody who's medically certified, also somebody that's certified in physical training, to help the band. So yeah, I agree with it.
devil's advocate, what if you can't afford it? Because you know, I don't like asking for free help. I really don't. Like, I don't like to abuse people's services, like if I can't pay somebody. But it's not beyond us as directors or somebody on staff getting certified in some of these things. Like, it's just not.
You
Like,
can be certified to do CPR.
yeah,
Like
just
something as easy as that. Like becoming a first responder, you don't have to have a type of medical certification or a degree for that. At my elementary school, I was a first responder there. You know, you can be a first responder. Talking about the arts management thing, because you're a lot of these organizations, they are nonprofit organizations. Look for some type of weird, and there's a lot of grants out there. Look for a grant to provide for that. The money is out there. And like I said, easier said than done, but research on how you can do that. Talk to your principal. I know there's a lot with administrators, but talk to your administrators. Tell them the risk. I think the best way to get it is to scare people. I know it's a scare tactic, but it can be done. Tell them the risk of not having one. And with a lot of people, if you tell them the risk, they're more apt to get that resource than not. But if not, look up some grants to see how those resources can pay for your program for the medical staff.
And usually there's always there's already somebody who's trained with the football team, and you typically go outside after the football team is done. So if that person just stays out there for the extra hour and a half, whatever, they add an extra stipend. Everybody, there's always extra stipends that the schools don't use. I don't care how poor your school is. There's stipends that they could get. One of my stipends said high school cheer coach. I don't teach high school cheer, but it was a stipend, an extra stipend they had. You know what I'm saying? So even if they could give that certified person an extra stipend just to be there with the band, that could most likely happen too. So if you go in and your administration denies you someone who's medically trained, then that might not be a place you want to be a part of because they're reckless. I don't know an administration or a school that would deny something like a request like that, because there's a sports. If you as band and sport, yeah, and they always put us under sports here, so we follow the same guidelines. So hey, boom, let's do this. Can this person stay for this for extra 2 hours, and just get your time that way? And then if they come up with, hey, well, how do you pay them? That's really not my problem. That's a you problem. Like, that's above my pay grade. That's what they're here to help with sports, and we are a sport. Therefore, you got to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have if you have a jazz band stipend at your school, give them that jazz band stipend. If you don't have one, but you have a jazz band stipend, give them that stipend. Like, it's plenty of ways to pay them.
I like Jennifer's answer better than mine. Like, yeah, that's not my job to look for the money. Sometimes they might make you do it, but yeah, I like that answer. Like, push them to find the resources.
Yeah, I think that putting something back on our schools is something I didn't do well at in my previous positions. I did not put it back. You want me to do this? You want the band to show up places? You want as many numbers on the field? I need to find a way to keep as many numbers on the field all the time as humanly possible. And this is going to help me keep more numbers on the field. I was watching band kids drop like flies. I was watching it and going toe to toe with some of my staff about why. And they just not cutting. I said, but at the end of the day, if we want them to stay, we got sometimes got to find out why they leaving. And that's very telling on ourselves. That's vulnerable. And we can't just keep saying, well, kids ain't built the way that we were built. We weren't built the way we were built. If we honest, we talking about that a lot right now. So yeah, There's grants. There's a way. There's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a will. Last question. How do we change our marching techniques? Like I'm not glide stepping, nothing against it, but I don't want to be a program that, and if we do, it's because I want my students to know how to do more than one thing. But the style of band that I always envisioned for my program was traditional style marching, was high step, was 8-5. And so I think, the question is, what methods could we use? Information. We just need to bring somebody medical, bring a friend. We all know a friend that do something in the medical field. Like, we really do. And we can even like reach out to local health facilities like physical therapists, because they look at us like business anyway. Like, hey, do a presentation on to how to avoid hyperextension. We got people on knock-kneed, bow-legged, falling arches, golden arches. We got a lot of different physicalities that we have to deal with. Everybody is not a size whatever and this weight and this muscle mass. We're just not. And this isn't, we need less girls in the band either. This ain't it. Because like I told you, I can outmarch most of y'all right now. But I'm a gym rat. And that's because I kind of try to take care of my body a little differently. But in doing that, we have to know how to. We have to know how to. It's just information. The internet, YouTube University, whatever. So it's 8:00. Anybody, last words? Because I said,
Don't sacrifice your program for your personal gain. That's it. That's all. I mean, for me, that service to students, that's your job, is to service your students. Your job, a part of your job is to put on a show, but you are there to service your students and make sure they have a positive time. Me as a middle school band director, my goal is to make sure they stay, give them a great introduction and a great foundation that makes them want to love the art, teach them the love for the art, to the point where when they get to the next level and they got all those stressors, playing different notes won't be hard. So yeah, that's my thing. I see that a lot with directors, period, is they like the product more so than the process. But the process is 100 times more important than the product. I never worry about my product because my process is good. My product is pretty consistent. So I mean, that's why I just think we need to do more with planning, do more with getting everything together, do more with not wasting time, do more with understanding that you can leave before the sun goes down, and if you can't pour from an empty cup. So make sure you take care of yourself, take care of your body, get checked. Encourage your students, if you teach high school and above, to get checked. If they need to go to the doctor, if they're feeling any type of pain, don't wait till it gets excruciating and they have to sit down and they got tears in their eyes, because our kids are dramatic. Oh my God, my knee, it hurts, But before it gets to that point, encourage their parents to take them to the doctor. I had a student who said during band camp, she was like, my side feel like it has a knife in it. And, some people were like, at first I was like, girl, you just ran that little lap. You just tired. Get you some Gatorade. But I saw her face after like 30 minutes. So I called her mama to take her doggone appendix was like, had to get her, like she had to have surgery, like emergency surgery. It freaked me out. You know what I'm saying? And it humbled me a lot. And this happened not even 2 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? So that humbled me big time. Like, no, this is a real life thing. She wasn't lying. So I try to take everything seriously now, more so because of that. So we never know what these kids got going on in their bodies. We ain't doctors. So let them go to professionals. And their parents, like when her mama came and picked her up, she was like, do your stomach just hurt because you ready to come home? And she was like, I guess the look on her face, her mama was like, I'm going to take her to the doctor. I'll be back. She hit me up, was like, I'm glad you called me, because they about to take her back for surgery, like that type of stuff. So it's crazy. I don't play with people's kids, especially, maybe it's because I'm a mother now. And if my child told a director that her stomach was hurting and you turn around and say, you just tired, like what the way I reacted initially, Like, I'm mad at myself because I would come up there and fight me. Like, I would fight myself if I did that. Like, who was I to say that to her? You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to get over that mentality. Get over yourself. It's about these kids' safety. If they're lying, that's between them, their mama, and their insurance company and their copay. But you finna get checked before you come back to me. So call that soft, but I call that saving my job.
Smart. Call it smart. Because at the end of the day, we're going to see a whole rotation of kids. We're going to see, like I did the numbers. I told my husband one day, I said, I think I've taught about 7,000 to 8,000 students or more. Because I was a K through 8 teacher for a while. And I taught the whole school. That was 800 kids. And you do that after 4 years with 200, 300 new incoming kindergartners every year. You taught them. Yeah. You get to that number real quick. And I like what you said. If you, and this is a challenge, and this is going to hurt some fellas, I don't even care, how some of y'all treat your daughters. If you wouldn't do it to your daughter, because that's where I got to hit. I can't say son, but if you wouldn't do it with your daughter, if that wouldn't be acceptable with your daughter, then it's not acceptable for somebody else's son. See, we got to take that gender out of it too. If your princess got a boo-boo and you kissing a boo-boo when they 16, get out of my face with this, you weak. And yeah, keep that energy when I see you go live with your little cupcake. Keep that energy, because there's somebody else's cupcake on the field too. And I'm tough. Ask my husband. We just hiked 3 miles today. And I just kept checking on it. I was like, listen, we built a little different. He carries a lot of weight on the upstairs. I was like, you all right, dude? And he trekked through. But if I just kind of was by myself, I wouldn't have that awareness. But when you are around others, you have to think about their medical makeup too. You have to think about what you don't know, not what you think you know, but what you don't know. You don't know what they got going on at home. Someone put it in the chat. You don't know what mental issues. You can't say everything to everybody, kid, because you'll be on the news. You'll be on the news real quick. And I'll say it doesn't make them weaker, because I had some ride or die students that marched through snowstorms. Like, I did a parade in the snow, like it snowed. It wasn't a blizzard, but it was accumulation. But we had the proper attire on, and they were middle schoolers. Did a mile parade in the snow. But let me tell you, we had those heating packs in our uniform. They were lined up. We took some precautions, some extra precautions. And I also said, if you don't think that this is something you want your child to participate in, that's fine. And the parade wasn't canceled. And I made sure that I went through those proper channels to CYA. We're not saying that marching band's got to be soft. It's just got to be done efficiently, effectively, and with us knowing better. You know better, you do better. And
it's not that serious, y'all. It's banned. Don't ruin somebody's life over band. Like, don't do that. Like, don't do that. Like, and I love band. I paid a lot of money for my degrees for band. Yeah.
I marched on a parade with a broken hand because I wanted to go so bad. I had a broken hand. Lauren, do you remember that Rebels parade? I don't know if you were in the Rebels. I marched out of the parade.
No, I did not know you had a broken hand.
Girl, I had
no way. I would be like, I can't make it, child. You got to march 49 piccolos, not 50.
I marched in a whole parade. Listen, my hand was broken. It was broken. Not like people like, you can't move your hand when it's broken. Hell yeah, you can, but it hurts like hell. But I have a high tolerance for pain. And it got so bad mid-parade.
You know what? I did. No, I can relate, because remember, I fractured my finger earlier in the summer.
And you didn't know.
A couple weeks later, I was playing for the 4th of July weekend. I had a gig and
didn't know. I marched right out that parade down, y'all, and marched to the ambulance on the parade route. And they wrapped me up. And look, I was propping the mellophone up but this part of my hand still playing. So we built for it tough. We all know that.
You should have hit
it was just my left
No.
I just played I played baritone, so it was like,
my point is back to that mindset. Sometimes I take a lot better care of myself then. But this is when I was like 26, 25. I just thought, I was like, well, I'm used to hurting. And that's where we get a really toxic mentality from. I'm used to being in pain after band. I must have just fractured it. And listen, I got out that parade route, went to the doctor. Doctor took an x-ray, then like they said, it's broken. And guess what he had to do? Set it. You want to talk about some humbling pain? They had to set it because the bone was not quite, you break something.
What does that mean? They have to put it back in place?
Lord, yes. And before I can even respond, he had done it. But let me tell you, I almost punched him with the good hand. But that woke me up. I said, Krystal, you can't have this because we're so afraid of being called a punk. That was me.
Call me what you want. I can play.
I ain't gonna lie now. I was afraid of someone calling me a punk because when I came to band, it's still around that male chauvinist mentality that, oh, you a girl, you ain't gonna get to do this. So I always felt like I had to prove my toughness in a toxic way. It was toxic. That was dumb thinking. Now I go to the doctor if I wake up and something clicked too many times, or like, ooh, and I'd be like, Dwight, you see this bump right here? Like, what is that mosquito bite? Like, look, you get on web, whatever, dot, whatever, and I be, I be
self. Just talked about it earlier. Everybody be self-diagnosing themselves through WebMD, which
I
is
be scared of that because they always give me AIDS. Every time
it's like you always you like 2 days away from death. Like, oh, right, I'm about to die.
Did you know that you could get cancer of the eyebrows? And be like, girl, what are you talking about? You know,
no. I will say this. I am fortunate enough to we had larger sections at FAM. So if we had people who were hurt, it's fine to say that we were more comfortable with saying that we were hurt because we had a lot of people who could take our spot. You get what I'm saying? So like if we had 50 piccolos, it was absurd. So if I felt like I got really sick, I had pneumonia one year it was a South Carolina State game. I did not march that game. It was 2009, Michael Jackson. That's how I remember because our whole entire show season, Michael Jackson. I was like, dang, I'm the actual point of the foot for this damn Michael Jackson thing. And so I was like, we gotta move somebody there. They were like, don't worry about it. We're gonna move them people down, honey. Look how we got 400, 300
cover down.
You know what I'm saying? But I couldn't imagine being a smaller group and when your spot is actually vital. Yes, you would have to feel like that. But I did
how I felt. And I was next in my section. It was 30 clarinet, so it wasn't even like we a small section. I carried that. I can't let people see the girl sit down. Nah. You gonna see that? I carry that. I don't carry that no more. You can call me a whole
thing.
Yeah, I'll be sitting down.
Be in that girl section. I bet all y'all little cycle synced. And so y'all attitude so like the boys in our section would say, is it the 15th? We'd be like, yeah, oh, okay. So like now we kind of spun the girl thing because they would come out like when it rains, they would say, man, I wish we ain't had no girls in the band. So I go get my umbrella, honey. Y'all get your umbrellas.
I was quick to put my clarinet away. Y'all ain't gonna mess up my instrument.
I'm putting that. Look, we putting it like, look, we over here doing this. That's all you gonna do.
Like I will march the show, but I will not have my instrument out. Now, when I was from Euphonia, that thing changed. I was like, oh, why did I switch instruments? Oh my God, I had to have my instrument out. Terrible.
I was a no limit soldier. I'm from '99. This is no limit soldier. That was my class. I don't know. I'm crazy, but I have calmed down a lot because you only got one body. You got one body, and that body's got to make it all the way to the end. And some of us, that mentality was just pushing me closer and closer to the end. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. I can't.
But see, this is why we need not just medical staff, but we need mental health experts on staff because all that. Like being a girl in the band, not trying to show the girl side and all this other stuff because it is a male dominated activity. That's, we need to kill some of these stereotypes and these preconceived notions, implicit biases, whatever you want to call them, about marching band. It's like, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. Like, I know, especially like for big games and stuff, like it's okay not to be okay, even when it's a big game, because you're still human. Mm-hmm. So, but for my last words, my knees hurt. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. My knees hurt. And that's all. That's all I'm saying.
And on that note, my knees don't hurt. They used to hurt, so I feel you, sis. Getting for those of you who are on here getting shots in your knees, I was getting shots in my bottom of my feet. Cut it out, y'all. You don't need to go out like that. Take care of that body. You only got one. Thank y'all for tuning in. This was a good talk. Share, like, subscribe. Passion is Network.
Peace out.
Good night.